I'm Not DJ is the 10th episode of the 6th season of Full House. This is directed by Richard Correll, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it's a great episode. We have two main parts of the narrative. I'll talk about both of them in turn. First of all, though, we have a very cute introduction with the adults playing with the twins. Absolutely adorable. Nice, fun way to start things off. And the next scene actually helps establish both parts of the narrative because the two Jennifers arrive. Jennifer P., played by Danielle Fishel, and we have Jennifer S., played by Tiffany Watson, and they refer to the twins as cute little girls because they have really long hair, and Jessie and Becky realise maybe they should give the boys a haircut, and I'll come back to that in a second. And the Jennifers then go up to Stephanie's room, and Stephanie is playing tea party with Michelle, and immediately she's worried that she doesn't look cool, which leads us to the second part of the narrative, involving Stephanie doing something she really shouldn't have done. And we'll talk about that second. But first of all, I'll talk about the haircut because we have this fabulous scene. Jessie finally agrees to get the boys their first haircuts. And they go down to Joey's uncle's barber shop. But Uncle Jasper is played by Dave Coulier, which I thought was an absolutely delightful choice. His performance was fabulous. And the boys are getting ready to get their haircut. And Jessie initially was very worried. But now Becky is starting to lose it because this is a milestone, and then there'll be another milestone and another one, and before long they'll be grown up and off to college. So it's very much about, not so much about how young children could act when they're getting their first haircut. It can be a very scary experience. Somebody is standing over you with a pair of scissors, but also what it could be like for parents. Jessie was obviously concerned because his hair is part of his image, and he obviously feels the same way about Nicky and Alex. Becky was worried because it was a big milestone, and while they're trying to calm down, Uncle Jasper cuts the boys' hair and then presents Jessie and Becky with balloons for being brave. So a really delightful scene, really fun, really enjoyed it. Definitely a fun part of the narrative. The other part, the main part, focuses, as I said, on Stephanie and the fact that she doesn't feel cool. So she asks Danny if she can get her ears pierced. He says, no, you have to wait until you're in junior high, like DJ was. And I didn't think to go back and check, but now I'm really curious to see if DJ actually had her ears pierced in the earlier episodes or not. Stephanie thinks this isn't fair, so Kimmy says that she has access to a piercing gun, so she will pierce her ears for her. There are a lot of insults thrown at Kimmy in this. She can't even, well, she's not allowed to use a fork, which obviously is not true, but, well, I'm assuming it's not true. And a lot of other insults thrown at Kimmy, all in good fun, of course. And then Stephanie lets her pierce her ears. And the next thing we know, she's wearing her hair in a Princess Leia fashion, and her ears are infected. And of course she's trying to hide this from Danny, when of course the thing that she should do is tell Danny, because obviously she might need medication for this infection. I will say Danny's not very quick with this episode, because Stephanie had just asked him for her ears pierced, and then he catches her with her hands, or her arms rather, either side of her ears, pretending to do sit-ups while standing up, and then her hair is covering her ears. And I feel like something should have helped him connect the dots, but nevertheless, he doesn't realise. And Michelle promises to not tell Danny, but she does tell DJ. And of course, DJ does the right thing and makes Stephanie tell Danny because her ears are infected. They need medical attention. And we have this really great conversation between Danny and Stephanie. I will say, though, Danny's response when, first of all, Stephanie said, I let Timmy Gibbler pierce my ears, Danny laughed because it was a joke. It had to be a joke. Of course, it wasn't. And then his outrage and disbelief once he learned that this was true, just really great range of emotions there. And we have kind of like a game of tennis or ping pong. Stephanie serves it up and Danny throws it back, and it's just beautifully done because Stephanie says, well, Danny said, first of all, I told you to wait until you're in junior high like DJ. And Stephanie said, why do I have to do everything like DJ? Which I thought was a really valid point. She said, I want to be an individual. I want to be treated as an individual, not just as a second DJ. And then Danny asked her why she wanted her ears pierced, and she pointed out it was because of the Jennifers. And then Danny served it back. He said, so you wanted to be an individual so you could be exactly like your friends. And I thought, that's a very good point as well, Danny. So we had a really great discussion between them, and I got a little emotional as well because I just thought the way Danny handled it was perfect. Yes, he had that initial gut reaction of anger and frustration, and then he was able, by the end of it, to make a little bit of a joke, saying, how could you let Kimmy Gibbler put a hole in your head? And I think he handled it really well and helped Stephanie see things. And he was also, and now I know some people might not agree with this, but he said, we'll go to the doctor's, and then we'll go out for burger and fries, because it's the last meal out she'll have for a long time, because she's going to be grounded. Some people might say maybe she shouldn't have gone out for food, because that's a bit of a treat when she intentionally disobeyed Danny. But I liked the fact that, again, he was able to kind of make a kind of a light-hearted comment, even though he was handing out a punishment. And I think he handled it really well. And I got a little emotional because of that. And I genuinely thought it was a really solid episode. I think there are some great lessons in here for the Stephanies of the world, for anybody who is considering, certainly anybody under a certain age who is considering piercing their own ears against their parents' wishes, but anybody of any age. If you're considering doing a DIY piercing, maybe don't do it, because it's not worth it. And also some great messages about children's first haircuts, and how if you're going through milestones, you have to learn to cope with it, because children are going to have a lot of milestones. And it's a really, really fun part of the episode. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd say it's one of my favourite episodes. Maybe. Definitely not a top 5, but it's certainly a contender for a top 50 list. I don't know. It's definitely high up there. I'm Not DJ. It's a really great episode of Full House, and needless to say, it's one that I really thoroughly enjoyed.